The call of the wild can be exhilarating, or a prelude to a nightmare. We seek solace in its vastness, challenge in its peaks, and peace in its silent depths. But beyond the well-worn paths and comforting campfires, the wilderness holds secrets far older than humanity, mysteries that whisper from the shadows, and terrors that lurk just beyond our perception. Tonight, we escape the safety of civilization and venture into the untamed wild with 3 true tales of terror, where hikers, campers, and explorers found themselves at the mercy of nature's darkest secrets and unseen inhabitants. Prepare to face the primal fears of isolation, the unknown, and the chilling realization that in the deep woods, you are never truly alone. Our first story takes us deep into the expansive wilderness of the Pacific Northwest, a place renowned for its ancient forests and formidable mountains. Ethan, an experienced solo hiker in his early 30s, up, never revealing their source. They weren't the hurried movements of a deer or the lumbering gait of a bear. These were slow, methodical, almost mimicking his own pace. When he sped up, they sped up. When he stopped, they stopped. He tried calling out, his voice swallowed by the oppressive silence of the ancient trees. The growls started on the 4th day. Deep, throaty sounds that resonated in his chest, too low for a coyote, too articulate for a cougar. They weren't threats, but something far more unsettling. Sounds of frustration, or perhaps, communication. He found himself constantly glancing over his shoulder, his heart a drum against his ribs. He swore he saw movements in the dense undergrowth, shapes that were too tall, too dark, too still. Desperate to escape, Ethan pushed himself to his limits, hiking through the night, guided only by his headlamp and the oppressive feeling of a presence just steps behind him. He heard the footsteps again, closer now, accompanied by a heavy, ragged breathing. He could almost feel a cold, unseen gaze on his back. He never saw what it was, but the intelligence behind the pursuit, the unnerving imitation of his every move, solidified a primal fear within him. He made it out, disheveled and traumatized, swearing off solo treks into the truly wild for good. The trail of shadows, he knew, was still out there, waiting for its next silent companion. Lost, alone, and far from help. The wilderness reveals its true face. A face not always of beauty, but of ancient, indifferent power, and sometimes, something far more sinister. In the remote Scottish Highlands, a land steeped in ancient folklore and breathtaking, yet desolate, landscapes, a group of 4 friends, Liam, Sarah, Chloe, and Ben, embarked on a backpacking adventure. They were seasoned hikers, respectful of nature, but unprepared for the true antiquity they would disturb. On their second night, deep within a secluded glen, they stumbled upon an anomaly, a towering stone cairn, unlike any they'd seen before. It wasn't a modern trail marker, this was an ancient monument, its stones dark with age, some bearing faded, indecipherable carvings. A heavy, almost palpable silence hung around it. Despite a creeping unease, they decided to set up camp in a nearby clearing, drawn by its strange, isolated beauty. That night, the nightmares began. Not just bad dreams, but shared, vivid terrors. Liam dreamt of being buried alive under countless stones, hearing whispers from within the earth. Sarah saw shadowy figures dancing around the cairn, chanting in a language she couldn't comprehend, their faces obscured by impossible darkness. Chloe experienced lucid hallucinations, seeing the stones around their camp shifting and breathing, their forms dissolving into grotesque, skeletal shapes. Ben, usually the most grounded, felt an overwhelming sense of impending doom, as if something ancient and malevolent had woken up and was now watching them. The next morning, exhaustion and fear etched on their faces, they described identical elements from their nightmares. The unsettling whispers, the feeling of being crushed by stone, the shadowy figures. A thick fog rolled in, trapping them in the glen. That day, they all began to experience strange phenomena while awake. Stones around their camp seemed to hum with a low vibration. Shadows moved with an unnerving independence from the sun. And the whispers returned, not just in their minds, but carried on the wind, seemingly from the cairn itself. They weren't coherent words, but a cacophony of ancient sounds, a chorus of despair and indignation. Their fear escalated when they noticed small, fresh scratches on their tents, and strange, rough marks on the ground leading directly from the cairn to their campsite. It was as if something had dragged itself towards them in the night. Panic set in. They packed in a frenzy, leaving behind anything not absolutely essential. As they hiked out, the whispers grew louder, clearer, sounding like mournful wails, accompanied by the distinct, heavy sound of shifting stones behind them. They dared not look back, convinced the ancient cairn had not only been disturbed, but had awakened. They escaped the glen, but the feeling of being forever marked by what they encountered, the cold dread of that whispering cairn, has never truly left them. Not all monsters have fangs. Some just exist. Silent observers, ancient guardians, or perhaps, something else entirely, waiting patiently for the unwary to stray too far. John, a retired park ranger, knew the vast back country of British Columbia like the back of his hand. For years, he'd explored its hidden lakes and ancient trails, often returning to familiar, secluded spots. One late summer, he set out for a week-long solo trip to a small, pristine lake he discovered decades ago. He expected solitude, but what he found was far more disturbing. As he approached the lake, he noticed an unfamiliar, bright yellow tent pitched near the shore. He frowned. This spot was rarely visited. As he got closer, an eerie quiet descended. No sounds of activity, no campfire smoke, just the tent, standing silently. Curiosity turned to unease. He called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" Only his echo answered. He cautiously approached the campsite. The scene that greeted him sent a chill down his spine. The tent was unzipped, flapping open in the breeze, as if its occupants had just stepped away. A small campfire, long dead, was cold to the touch. A half-eaten meal, still in its cooking pot, sat beside it, attracting flies. A fishing rod lay tangled in the grass, reel still engaged. Most unsettling of all, a child's bright red rubber ball lay half buried in the dirt, far from the tent, near the edge of the dense tree line. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned chairs, no scattered gear, no blood. It was as if everyone had simply vanished mid-activity. John, using his old ranger instincts, spent hours meticulously searching the area. He found 2 sleeping bags neatly rolled inside the tent, along with backpacks, spare clothes, and car keys. There was no note, no indication of where they had gone, or why they would leave everything behind so abruptly. The family's SUV was found parked perfectly at the trailhead, 3 miles away. It contained nothing but standard camping supplies. The police were notified, a search was mounted, but after weeks, no trace of the campers, a young couple and their 6-year-old son, was ever found. It became a cold case, a mystery swallowed whole by the wilderness. John often returned to that lake, haunted by the image of the abandoned campsite. He noticed something else, something he couldn't explain. The red ball, which he'd marked and left in the dirt, would sometimes be found in a slightly different spot, closer to the tent, or even inside it, as if someone, or something, was still playing with it, long after the campers themselves had ceased to exist. The wilderness, he concluded, doesn't always give up its secrets. Sometimes, it just takes them. These stories serve as chilling reminders of the immense, untamed power of the wilderness. It is a realm of breathtaking beauty, yes, but also of profound mystery, where the known rules of civilization often cease to apply, and ancient forces, or perhaps something even stranger, hold sway. The fear of being lost, isolated, and vulnerable to unseen terrors is a primal one, deeply embedded in our collective consciousness, and the great outdoors can awaken it like no other place. Have you ever ventured into the wild and encountered something truly unexplained, something that made the hairs on your neck stand up? Share your own chilling outdoor encounters in the comments below. We're always listening for the whispers from the deep woods. If these tales of wilderness terror stirred something within you, hit that like button, subscribe for more true horror, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next descent into fear. There are more stories out there, waiting to be told, waiting to remind us just how thin the veil can be between our world and theirs. Until then, stay safe out there. If you can.